Alright, this is a comparison between the Orbiter 1.0, well, not the 1.0, the Vividino version. It's also going to be the version that I made of Jake Allen and Tom Jones' upgrade, and then the 1.5 that I just got. So, the main differences right away is supposedly they said new Delrin gears, which I believe the Vividino one, it seems like the gears are pretty good in the Vividino original one, so I think they already were Delrin, but it's a 20mm stepper. They give this long, janky cable, which you need to have this twist in it, so do not straighten those out. Here we go. So they said they changed the bearing size for easier assembly, but the original Vividino used a 16mm front bearing. The original Robert Lorenz one used a 14mm front bearing, which was the same as the rear bearing. So they also used a flange bearing in the Vividino, which, I mean, there's no reason to use a bigger bearing. There's no axial load. There's no side load. Yeah, I'm gonna find out what the different bearing size is on this now. I'm not really sure. One thing I wanted to show very quickly. These are all wrapped too tight. These are wrapped much looser. Okay. So this is a THK style. They say MTN instead of MGN, but it's the same difference. If you actually look on the end, there is a hole. There's a hole, and you inject the filament into the hole and it'll come out. It actually will come out through the guide. I really need to find that syringe to show you better, but I mean, you can just wipe it on if you need to, if you're in a pinch. But here, this is a high wind guide. Show you much better on the high wind guide. See that hole right there? You literally just inject it into that hole, and that filament path, which by the way, never do this, because if you lose the balls out of it, even one ball, it sucks. But it'll actually push it right into that filament path. So you inject it, move it a little bit, and then inject it more. You don't have to take anything apart. If it's a brand new printer, you want to wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol, and always do this over like a tray or something to catch it, never like I just did. Okay, so this is the 1.5. This is an old motor, and this is the old style printed housing, the printed gear cover. So old style housing, printed gear cover. This is an old shaft, which, as you can see from Vividino, it really wasn't bad, but I'm going to compare them completely. So we have an extra set of guts, so I'm not gonna, oh no, this is taken apart. This is a unused printed housing, which as you can see is pretty good. So This is the size bearing that is used in the original design by Lorenz, 14 millimeter. This is the design size used by Vividino, 16 millimeter. So I made two versions of orbiters. I'm actually printing one of each size right now of the newest setup. I had one of my housings with the bearing in it already, but I put it down. I don't know where. So I'll just start taking apart just want to get this together, so I want to compare how accurate the filament path is, because some of these, the one problem with the flange bearing like this that I noticed is it's hard to line this up perfectly because it actually prevents the shaft from pushing all the way in sometimes, so this is slightly offset, which I'll show you what I mean right now. The opposite way, but that front gear is a little bigger, so it actually doesn't line up perfectly. Alright, so this is a Vividino one that's apart. And you can see it's actually slightly off and it can't go any further in. And this is one of the problems. This needs to technically be more that way. Okay, so let's pull apart the 1.5. Other size. I like that they use standard size 1.5 millimeter head M3s. They fucking greased the gear again. Stupid. You can feel the extra weight in the motor. Not a ton, definitely a little bit. So, this is an old printed housing. Let's compare the gears. So, this is a gear shaft from the new one, and this is a Vividino original gear shaft. Guess what? Don't even tell me. Vividino was already using the bigger 16 millimeter flange bearing. That's what they changed to. So the original one used 14 on both sides. The original, like the Renz edition one. The new Vividino one, the Vividino one used the 16 millimeter on the front, and now the 1.5 is using 16 millimeter on the front. So I probably just wasted a bunch of time trying to make a different version to match the old housing. I guess they like the flanged front bearing better. The gears, these gears are way better though. This Mellow store, these look more like genuine Bondtech gears. They're actually, it's a slightly wider hobbing on the gear. I don't know how close this is going to let me get. Actually, let me see if it just lets me zoom in more. It keeps focus. Okay. So as you can see, you can tell which one's used, which one's new, but I don't see any reason to, as long as they perform the way they're supposed to, I don't think there's going to be any reason to upgrade to genuine Bontex. Look how much wider that is. Let's measure that. Let me zoom back out. Okay, I bet you Bontex did that so that it would work with 2.85 film and a regular. This one is only 2.28 wide, but let's see something else. It's 11.43. 11.36, 37. See, so the wider hobbing that's deeper as well is going to allow you to not deform the filament as much. And since it's deeper, it might actually bite from the sides better. I just definitely did notice that my genuine Bontex did not grind filament the same way. But the gears, let's look at the back side of each. Hopefully I don't mix these up. Tell you one thing, they don't want to come off of this. They fall right off of the other one. Ah, okay. Shit. At least it makes it easy for me to tell the difference. These are the MR85Z, I believe, bearings. Yeah, it looks like Vividino's been using Delrin gears from the beginning. I'm gonna zoom in super close. Oh shit. Well, you see the casting marks. Ah, so these are, you know what, these must be printed in nylon, because they definitely don't have the mold marks. I never had an issue with my gears wearing. I mean, I guess they do look a little worn. I'll have to do a follow-up. I will say, one thing that definitely wears, which is why I'm not using it, I'm actually using my nylon printed one, is this. Look how nasty that looks. It's real like powdery. It's definitely mushed. There's not a lot of definition. So I guess supposedly they're claiming, I mean, I guess since we only run this stepper, the 17s at you know, 0.5 max, and you know, around well, actually we really run it at 280 or 0.28 RMS, 400 max is what most people run, and they have heat problems, but that's because the duet board is 2660s, which just cannot put out that low of a current. That has me a little bit worried about this one. They're both AHG, so they're both high temp steppers, and I mean, I don't like the fact that this is a lower current one, unless it is actually the same windings and everything. I'm going to check the inductance. Maybe they lowered the current rating because of the heat issues, and it really is just the same windings and a slightly bigger casing to have more you know, thermal capacity, which that would be great. But I'm going to do my own extrusion test. CNC Kitchen already did some too, so that's good. Clean this shit off. Delrin and nylon are self-lubricating, and nylon swells. You don't want this crap. The only thing that could use anything is maybe the bearings, but honestly, they don't need it. So that's the basic rundown on the two versions. And I mean, I've never ran out of torque. The weird part is you know what it is? This will have more torque. If this is rated at 0.94 nanometers or whatever, or I think it was, I gotta look up what it was. But either way, if this is rated at 0.94 and this one is rated at 100, but this is rated at 1 amp, this is rated at 0.5 amps. If we're gonna put the same amount of power, you're gonna get way more torque out of the 20. That is true. I didn't think about that. But the thing that scares me is the max velocity. They're recommending like 300 acceleration or jerk for this, I think. 300 jerk, which is 5 millimeters a second, and 600 acceleration, which is kind of what they recommend for this, but I've run way higher and not skipped. And I've checked it on the scope and everything to make sure. Yeah. We'll find out. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot one thing. This has that same bullshit alignment problem. Not lined up right. I had to add like 0.8 millimeters to the oh, you know what? Screw it. There you see it. It's got the same bad alignment. And this is fresh how it came, so let's see if I can at least get it right. Hopefully this one has enough play. And I don't think it does. Let's slide a piece of filament down. This is the way to align it, but as you can see, it's not perfect. I think I might. It's closer than the Vividino one. It's a little better, but it still can't. I mean, let me. Yeah, that's the best it's gonna get. I gotta tighten my handle. Oh, that sucks. At first it almost looked good when I had it like that, and then I held it straight and realized. And I thought maybe it was because it's a bent piece of filament, but it's not. It is just ever so slightly to the side.